Here we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to day number 2 of the Simple Content Creation Workshop. Super excited to dive into today's training, which today we're going to be going over how to cut your content creation time in half. So as always, before we start today, pop into the comments, say hi and where you are tuning in from. We love seeing where people are watching this from. And also, please do make sure that your line is muted out as you enter the room. We want clear lines as possible, just so there's no interruption. So we got Connecticut, New York City, we got Massachusetts. Awesome. Now, before we dive into today's content, or I would say theme for today, which is cutting your content creation time in half, drop in the comments below what you really took most away from yesterday, like identifying, obviously, the content buckets, different things that you can post. What was the biggest needle mover for all of you from yesterday's day number 1? So type that in the chat. We like to see where everybody is and, where obviously what is moving the needle for each individual person, because again, it just helps us cater to the audience that we have on here and all the members of this workshop. So getting organized and focused, content buckets, identifying what I produce and breaking it down, narrowing the zone of genius, the step-by-step process. Absolutely. So these are all things that we need to continue to pay attention to. Now, just as a reminder, the replays, obviously, we posted yesterday. There's a replay link that was posted in the Facebook group. So it's that same link that you will be able to access on the replay page. So you can find the link in the Facebook group, or it'll be emailed out in the morning, along with, remember, the other 4 emails. Obviously, there's going to be an hour warning, 15-minute warning, and we are live, as well as the replay email that goes out every morning at 7 a.m. And just remember that you can watch all of the replays until this Sunday at 9 p.m. EDT. And also, please do remember that I'm going to put my email address in the chat. If anybody has any questions in regards to day 1, day 2, and day 3, which is tomorrow, for Thursday's bonus 60-minute Q&A, you can pre-submit your questions. The pre-submitted questions will get answered first, and then whatever time is left, we will open it up, obviously. You want to send your questions to support@scottaaron.net. Obviously, I will gather those questions, put them on a spreadsheet, and then I will run through each and every one of them on the bonus Q&A session, same time, 1 p.m. EDT on Thursday. The other reminder is, just remember, there is going to be another homework assignment at the end of today's session and at the end of tomorrow's session. And just like yesterday, you're going to see a homework post pinned to the top of the Facebook group. It'll say Nancy's Day 2 homework thread, and you have to complete that homework accountability assignment 30 minutes prior to the next day, which means you have to have it done by 12:30 p.m. EDT tomorrow. Nance, did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered most of it.
Awesome. So today we are going to be going over how to cut your content creation time in half. So drop a Y or a yes if you feel that you, A, are struggling to create content, but B, you feel like you're spending too much time creating that content. You wish it was more free-flowing, simpler, easier, and taking much less time. Okay, good. Because again, that is the goal of today's session. So the goal of today's session is to make sure that you're spending the right time doing the right things, so you have obviously other time to spend on growing your businesses. That's the big thing. It's, you want to make sure that you are spending an ample amount of time, not only sorting through the stuff that you want to create, but how can we go through and really narrow down and really cut down all the time that it's taking for us to create all of the content. The homework assignment, again, that's not going to be mentioned till the end of today's session, along with the winners from yesterday. So there'll be 2 homework winners announced at the end of today's session, along with the homework assignment for tomorrow. So with that being said, we got a lot to cover today, a lot to dive into. So I'm going to turn it over to Nancy so we can dive into day number 2.
All right. Awesome. So thank you, everyone. It was so wonderful getting to read everyone's homework assignments. Again, we'll have another homework assignment for tonight. And also we will be announcing the winners at the end of the training today for yesterday. So awesome job. Really had a good time looking through everyone's answers from last night's training. So we're going to dive right in, and just to give you guys kind of like a heads up, again, I'm a very visual person, so there are quite a few slides that we're going to be going through, but really it's to make sure, right, that all of us kind of have a nice visual and a nice picture of what this workflow and what this process looks like. Okay. So the goal today is to be able to take what we learned yesterday, right? And what we learned yesterday was determining the area that you're the zone, your zone of genius, and then breaking apart that zone of genius into different categories, right? Different content buckets that you can talk about and you can rotate, right? So already that's pretty cool because there's tons of topics, right? Under all those buckets that you can talk about for days. But now we're going to take it a step further, right? And today we're really going to dig into what your weekly workflow is going to look like, right? I want you guys to start already thinking ahead of time some of the questions that I'm going to ask, right? What are your content buckets? What are your content topics that you want to talk about, right? We're going to drop a couple prompts in here shortly. But the other thing that I want you to think about as well is, how many times a week are you going to post? What platforms are you going to post on? What is going to be the main platform that you're going to focus on? Okay. So just planting those seeds before we dive in, because I want you guys really, really in that mode of thinking through those things. So first things first, right? I just really want to lean into the fact of how important it is to take the time to plan out your content. Okay. And that's what we're doing. And that's what I'm teaching you. It's a way to plan out your content so that it keeps you organized. It keeps you intentional. It helps you avoid the pressure of last minute posting. How many times have we, flown by the seat of our pants and gone, oh, I just got to make a post today. And you just grab some random quote and you just throw it up, right? We don't want to do that. We want you to create better quality content, more thought out, more research. We keep talking about it, right? I don't want you guys just creating generic, whatever content. I want you to actually create value added content that your audience enjoys. Okay. So I want to really go through the simple framework, right? We're going to drive through this framework for creating the content with ease each week. Okay. And as we go through this, I'm going to kind of give you some visuals. So step 1, that first step was identifying your zone of genius, right? Recognizing your expertise, identifying your unique skills, knowledge, passion. What is that thing that you want to be known for? Right? So I use Scott as the example. Okay. And we're going to kind of use Scott as the example just because he's here and it's easy. So Scott's main zone of genius is LinkedIn, right? This is what he does. This is the industry. This is, primarily the big focus and the thing that he talks about. So I want you guys to drop your zone of genius in the chat. And remember, your zone of genius is simple, okay? It's not like your business statement. It's not a whole sentence. I want you to just put in, it could be 1 to 2 words, maybe 3 words max, but drop your zone of genius in the chat, right? We talked the other day, mine, my big,
it could be
go ahead.
insurance. It could be personal finance. Yep. It could be social media. It could be health and wellness, insurance, digital products. Yep. Robotic
100%
surgery,
virtual.
yep.
Yes.
VA,
Yep.
time out.
All of
Perfect.
that, right? Absolutely. So, and if you guys are joining us, if you weren't here yesterday and you're joining us now, like just think about, right? What's that one thing you want to be known for? If someone were to recommend you, right? Hey, you got to talk to Scott. He knows LinkedIn, right? Oh, you got to talk to, Gail. She knows finance and asset management. You got to talk to Sue. She knows, construction. You got to talk to Sophie. She knows urban design, right? So we want to really hone in first and get clear, on your zone of genius. Now, the step 2 of all of this, right, is selecting the 3 to 5 content buckets. And whenever I say content buckets, I mean, it's just a way to categorize and really divide your zone of genius into different content buckets or themes. Now, without overthinking this, I just want you guys to imagine this. Okay. I want you to imagine that if you were teaching about your zone of genius, what does someone need to know to understand it? What does someone need to know to be proficient in it? Okay, so if it's gonna be, I think someone dropped emotional intelligence. If someone needs to know about emotional intelligence, what types of things would they need to know to understand it? So, of course, you can talk about emotional intelligence, and then you can talk about different aspects of emotional intelligence and different things within that. So, for LinkedIn, just to give an example of Scott's potential content buckets, and just so you guys know, these content buckets can change, over time. It's not like you're committing to just, these 3 to 5 content buckets. They can change. But you really want to use them because they really help you hone in and really come up with tons of content topics and be more organized. So just in this example, right, Scott can talk about different LinkedIn updates. In fact, he does all the time. Anytime LinkedIn has something new and exciting, he shares about it. He talks about different pieces of content and ways that you can create content on LinkedIn. And then he could just have a nice little broad bucket of just connecting and networking. Right. Scott has a really good sales background. He has a really good background in not just LinkedIn, but by allowing him to be able to talk about something that he's skilled in as it relates to LinkedIn, that's great as well. Okay. So I want you guys to now drop your content buckets. And if you just want to drop 3, that's fine. But I want you to drop your content buckets in the chat, right? What are the things you talk about as it relates to your zone of genius?
Yep.
What does your audience need to know to be proficient in your zone of genius?
It could be, growing an online business, working from home, work-life integration, leveraging emotional intelligence. So you got to pick those buckets. So again, to Nancy's point, if LinkedIn is my overarching hierarchy, then my content buckets I can break down into messaging on LinkedIn, connecting on LinkedIn, content on LinkedIn. So moon, mindfulness, setting intentions, meditation, asbestos hazards, joining a group to network with safety directors, mindset, gratitude, goal setting, work-life balance. Awesome. Anxiety, depression, completing cycles of action. Awesome.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So the next step, now that we have, right, the content buckets that we're really going to, obviously pick content underneath of all that is generating individual content topics, right? And those are going to be individual topics that you can teach, you can provide value, you can train on, right? Most of the times these, and what I'm referring to for content topics, it's the content you can create to really educate and provide value to your audience. Okay. And just stopping there, right? You can simply, right? And I've been dropping some AI prompts throughout. You can type in as a prompt, give me 10 content ideas I can post about blank. Okay. That could be your zone of genius or a specific content bucket. So for Scott's the other day, I typed in LinkedIn. And it came up with a bunch of different individual, right, content topics that I could talk about. Now, keep in mind, right, these individual content topics can be created in lots of different ways, right? You can create a video, you can do a podcast episode, you can do all different types of channels. But for this training, we're just focusing on simple posting. Okay, we're not going crazy and wild about newsletters. We're not going wild and crazy about all different formats of posting. We're just talking about simple. Okay, so with this in mind, and just to kind of, again, give you the visual of what this could look like, you've got the 3 different content buckets that Scott's focusing on, right? So he's got the LinkedIn updates, he's got LinkedIn content creation, he's got connecting and networking. Underneath of those, I put a few different content topic ideas. All these are, right, are different things that he can talk about or post about, right? It's that educational value added content, in his content. So lots of different things that you can do. And the beauty of this and kind of breaking it down in this way is you guys will never run out of content ideas. Okay. I gave you lots of tips and ideas of how you can, come up with individual topics yesterday. But again, you guys will have more than enough. Now,
So just really quickly, so if all this is making sense, just drop a Y or a yes in the chat. I just want to make sure everybody is clear on this because again, creating content, breaking it down in the hierarchy, the way that Nancy is letting you know, obviously you have your content buckets, and then under the content buckets, you have your specific topics that you're going to talk within those specific content buckets. So again, just to show the example really quickly, LinkedIn updates, how to create a newsletter, why LinkedIn is cracking down on automation, and 3 benefits to having creator mode turned on. So just want to make sure everybody is clear on that. Awesome.
Totally. Yep. So, and again, the cool thing about this, and this is what I'm about to show you, is any of these pieces of content, right, will be really great. You can spend a little time to really dig in and find out more and write down different things. But there are ways that you can just take one topic and really kind of work it throughout the week. Okay. And that's what I'm going to show you. So I want you guys to just take a minute and I want you to drop a content topic. And whenever I say content topic, I mean like this, right? So it's an actual post you could create. It could be like a video you could do, or like a newsletter topic, or, something that you can post 3 tips about something. But I want you to drop a content topic you would like to create content for. Okay, this is something you'll post about that's going to educate and provide value to your audience.
And I just started you guys off. I just put going live on LinkedIn. So that is a topic right there. Why age is important with life insurance. Upcoming OSHA changes. Awesome.
OSHA, yep.
Video. What is the nature of grief?
Yep.
Define senior living resident profile. The proper. Beautiful. I mean,
absolutely.
You guys are nailing it.
So everything that all these things that you guys are dropping, 5 ways to say no and build capacity. Yep. All the things that you guys are dropping, it's excellent, right? It's stuff that you can create and you can really provide value, and you can share steps, and you can, make sure that your audience is walking away and they're learning something. Okay. So everything, I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. All right. So now the next step in all of this, and this is really what we're going to kind of dig in a little bit deeper to, is now creating content, right? We want to create the engaging content. We want to develop compelling and valuable content for each topic. Okay. Now, again, for the sake of this training, we're keeping it so basic and simple, but you could decide, right, to create a blog on this topic. You could create video, you could create infographics, you can do all kinds of wonderful things, right? The sky is really the limit. But we're really going to hone in and focus, like I said, on creating a simple post. So the topics that we had earlier, I went through and I just selected 4. Okay, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. But what I did is I went through and I selected 4 different topics, right? They're all relating to LinkedIn, what it is that Scott does. There are 4 different things that LinkedIn or, Scott can talk about as it relates to LinkedIn. Now, what you can do by selecting these 4 content topics is you can break them apart into 4 weeks of content, right? We're taking the topic and we're correlating it with a week. So, right. So each topic could be 1 week. So these are going to be what we call your content leaders. You can call them pillars. You can call them whatever you would like. But basically, those are the main focuses, the main theme for the whole week. Okay. And I promise you, right, and I'm going to share with you a cool little tip in a second. You could talk about the same thing for the entire month, and it would not be detrimental to your business. If you can help people understand and be able to set you apart and know what it is that you do, it is a huge win. Okay. So for example, if Scott just posted for the entire month of January, okay, all about just one thing, which is how to create a LinkedIn newsletter, and just talked about that the entire month, that's still going to be okay. And a lot of people are like, well, isn't that like beating a dead horse? Isn't that talking like, about the same thing again and again? People see your things differently. And I'm telling you, the more, you talk about something, the more you put out content, things like that, you're going to realize, right, not everyone sees your stuff, and there are different ways that you can put things out. Okay. So before we dive into the next steps, right? And whenever I say next steps, we're going to obviously break those pieces of content out. I want you guys to stop for a second. And I want you to think about, what is the main social media platform you will be focusing your efforts on? Okay. And before you guys share.
Drop that in the chat.
Yep.
So if you had to pick a platform to lead with, and then obviously spread that message to other platforms. So LinkedIn, Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, IG, Insta, and LinkedIn. Awesome.
Excellent.
So yeah, the biggest key is doing what you guys just did, which is picking that main social media platform that you're going to be focusing your efforts on.
Absolutely. And I want you guys to think, if you're kind of stuck, because I get this question often. In fact, a lot of people who are just transitioning to posting online, they're like, there's so many. What do I do? I don't even know where to start. Well, where is your audience? What are your goals? Where will you be spending the most time? I don't want you guys choosing a platform you hate. Okay. If you're never on that platform and you don't really like it, don't pick that one. There are billions and millions of people on every one of these. You guys are good. Okay. And the top 3 typically that we talk about are going to be Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Okay. But if there is a certain platform you are really drawn to, and you know that you can crush it, and you know you can really lead it and be all in with it, that's awesome. That's great. The goal is that we really want you to choose one that is going to be the main social media platform that you're going to do all the things, right? You're going to really show up consistently. Now, the next thing that I want you guys thinking about is, how many days a week will you be posting? How many days can you honestly commit to? I want you to create a posting schedule that you can stick to. I don't want you to just say, okay, well, maybe sometimes I'll post 3, maybe sometimes 5, maybe 6. Now, when you figure this out, I don't want you guys feeling like, okay, well, if I pick 3 days, that doesn't mean you can't post on the other days. In fact, I tell all my clients, right? We do a lot of posting for clients. You can absolutely, if the spirit moves you, you're having one of those days and you want to share something really cool, go ahead and post it. Right? You can jump right in and you can say, hey, oh my gosh, I want to share this thing. It's so cool. Absolutely. But what I'm talking about here with your posting schedule is, what is the base foundational schedule that you want to stick to? Okay. I keep listening. In fact, a fantastic book that I invite all of you guys to check out is The 12-Week Year. Okay. And the reason why I love that book so much is it really helps you break out and create goals and tactical objectives to get there. And one thing that they talk about is, your future is determined by the things you do today. Your business success, how well you do, is going to be the little things that you do each and every day, and the consistencies. Okay. I don't want you to post consistently for just maybe 4 weeks and then you fall off, right? I want you guys committing to your schedule. So for example, right, Scott always teaches, okay, LinkedIn, 3 days a week is a great place to start, right? We're going to give you a little sample of what that looks like shortly. But even if, okay, I know a couple people posted, Gail, Harzef, 2 or 3 days a week. I am absolutely okay with that. You know why? Is because we really, really want to focus on creating good content. Okay. We don't want to just create, right? I'm really harping on this, but I don't want you to create generic, fluffy, icky, whatever content, right? We want you to create good content.
Yeah. I mean, there's some people that really only post once a week, and that's completely fine. So, the fact it's not, it's quality over quantity. So people have this notion, the more I post, the more stuff I get out there, the better it is. That's false. Because, and I said this in a podcast I did with Nancy. People ask, why are people not engaging in my content? And there's typically 2 reasons. Your content is not good, meaning you haven't put the time and attention into it to make it really high quality. Or number 2, it's being pushed out to the wrong audience. And that's why Nancy a few slides ago said, what is the platform you're going to lead with? Because the network that you're building on there and the content that you create, they have to mesh together. If there's something disjointed from either one of those 2 things, it's never going to work. So something I do say, start with just 3 days a week if you can do that. And that's the great thing, is that with LinkedIn, you don't have to post 3 times an hour, 3 times a minute, or 3 times a day, like some of the other platforms. But if you have that notion of quality over quantity, you're going to have an edge over everybody else.
Yep, absolutely. So what I'm going to take you through now, right, is kind of like the next little funnel process, right? You know, we kind of have our zone of genius, we've got content buckets, we've got our topics. But now that you've really thought about it and we've decided, okay, I want to post 3 days a week, or I want to post 4 or 5 days a week. Now I'm going to take you through a simple, right, process or framework that's going to make it so that your content is going to be different and you're not really saying the same exact thing. Okay. And what I mean by that, right? We're taking one piece of content, like one topic, kind of breaking it out through the week. So a key thing to note is there are 5 different types of content that you can create. Okay. And I always used to say this. In fact, I used to say it in like every workshop I created content in. There's 5 different types of content. There's inspirational content, there's educational content, there's promotional content, there's engaging content, and there's entertaining content. And each one of these are ways that you can break up your content throughout the week, right? We want to kind of mix things up. We don't want to just have like one basic regular post, right? We kind of want to jazz it up a little. So looking at that a little bit closer, and breaking down the 5 types of content. What I want you guys to do, you know, if you want to write this in your workbook or you want to write it down on a piece of paper, just write the 5 types. And the reason why I say that is because, again, if you want to use AI or you want to use ChatGPT or something like that, you can plug into the prompts, you know, please give me 5 types of inspirational content I can create for whatever the topic is. Right? So the first one is inspirational. Now, inspirational content, right? That type could be all kinds of different things, right? It could be motivational. You can share inspirational tips, quotes, affirmations. You can share stories. You can share inspiration. You can share quotes, trivia, facts, stories of success, right? Things that make people feel stuff, right? And whenever I shared yesterday, right, you guys get bonus points if you can really make your audience feel something. Okay. We want them to look at the post and go, whoa. In fact, feeling something and emotion and bringing out emotion is shareable content. If we can get people to share our content, that's huge, right? Like, love, you know, all that stuff, but sharing it, whoo, your eyeballs, right? You're going to get more eyeballs on your stuff that way. Now, next, educational. What does that look like? Right? And that's the content. And I want you to really think about your content topics that you guys picked out. That's an example of educational type content, right? That's usually going to be the content that leads the week, the pillar content. You can share educational content, tips, strategies, provide insights, value, and advice. You can do tips and tricks, case studies. You can teach on a topic, how-to videos, free resources, FAQs. The list goes on and on, yeah, right? Lots of educational content. And again, this content, when we think of value, this is giving your audience value because you're teaching them something, right? You're bringing awareness. You're doing a lot of things. And I'm keeping this very simple, guys, but there's always a rhyme and a reason for everything. When you give value and you create that educational content, you're building awareness, right? And that's step 1 of the buyer's journey, right? They need to be aware of what's going on. They need to be aware of things. You're also building know, like, and trust. You're also setting yourself apart as the expert and building that thought leadership and your expertise by posting educational content from your point of view. Okay. And no one else is you, right? You can type things into AI all day long, but you got to have your spin on it. So the next type of content is promotional. But guess what? Promotional content does not have to be spammy. It doesn't have to be salesy. Promotional content can be something like sharing a little behind the scenes, right, about your business. could be some testimonials, could be milestones, could be celebrating clients, could be behind the scenes of how to work with you, your personal story or journey. Someone actually asked me the other day, like, what is your journey? How did you get into entrepreneurship? And I'm like, oh, that'd be such a great post, to kind of share the timeline of all the how this transpired. You could do a get to know me series. You could do introductions, testimonials, behind the scenes, product reviews, unboxing, right? If you have products. So lots of ways that you can create promotional content without being spammy.
So if everybody is clear so far with the first four, inspirational, educational, and promotional, and the difference between them, just drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Again, we have two more, which is engaging and entertaining. So again, just to make sure that everyone is like, that's why Nancy and I always say there's never a way to run out of content, because you have so many different areas and arenas to choose from. Whether you want to go the inspirational route, which is what I typically do. I typically stay within the inspirational and educational route. Yes, I do some engaging when I do my LinkedIn polls, but if you were to look at any of my content across any social media platform that I'm on, you can place me in that inspirational and that educational bucket.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm going to share with you right here. So engaging, right? So engaging content, Scott actually does that as well. That's anytime you ask questions, right? You propose maybe a poll to your audience, right? It's a way to get a conversation going, right? And this is actually something that Scott does really well. He actually uses his LinkedIn polls each week as a way to really find out, right? Get a pulse of what's going on, of what his audience, has going on. But engaging type posts are not just questions, right? You can really connect with people. You can share something about business, stories, testimonial, again, some of that behind the scenes, but proposing like, hey, what's going on in your life? What's going on in the world? Asking for opinions, feedback, aha moments. Have you tried this? What do you think of this? Did you know? In fact, I'm sure you guys have probably seen a lot of posts like, oh, I'm coming out with a new book. What cover do you like? Right? There's different ways that you can really engage and involve your audience, into what it is that you're doing as well. But engaging, I usually do like to kind of differentiate that. I think the easy way to think about that is usually with a question. But it's really just asking your audience, what's going on and including them in your content as well. And then the last, right, is entertaining, right? This is content that makes us feel good. Could be memes. It could make us laugh. It could be jokes. It could be gratitude. It could be throwback, nostalgia. Remember when? Contests, giveaways, stories, favorite book, podcast, shows. I mean, I love actually recipes. My favorite things to see, I always like and love. If I see somebody post like a really good recipe or pictures of them cooking, I always love it. If somebody posts pictures of them gardening and like beautiful flowers and stuff, oh man, I'm a sucker for a good, backyard gardening pic. But the thing is right, it's allowing you to share a little bit more about you. It's giving people a peek behind the scenes, right? Every single one of you guys, right? We don't want to be so stuffy and overly professional that we can't really open up and share what makes us unique, right? I want you guys to keep those things, what makes you unique. In fact, I have two clients, right? They're both health insurance brokers and they are goofballs. They in fact do videos and they also share they share different things each week. And I really love it. It's like when they theme out their week, they talk about a specific content, topic, but they'll add their own spin on things. And one week they actually talked about coaching, right? Their Feel Good Friday or their entertaining, post was all about how coaching really was something that they learned because they were helping their kids, coach their kids on their sports team, but they really applied coaching in their own life and with their clients and in their business. And it was such a cool story and a cool way for them to share it. But I loved it because it really peeked behind the scenes and it showed who they really were, right? They weren't stuffy, professionals who, you couldn't ask questions. They made themselves very relatable. Okay. So entertaining, right? You can go wild, you can post really anything you'd like, but I like having that as, an option for some content. Now, you can choose to post a certain type of content on a certain day. Now, the reason why I say this is it's a fun way to really plan out your content, to really mix it up. Okay. Because of course we're leading right with the topic, which we're going to kind of show you that process a couple times here. but you can break it up across, the entire week. Now, there is no exact science to this, right? I usually give the example of, if you're posting 5 days a week, you could do a quote on Monday. You could do a tips on Tuesday, which could be educational. You could do a work at Wednesday, which is where you talk about your business. You could do a poll on Thursday to connect with your audience. And then Friday, you could just do something entertaining. Okay. So that's just an example of how you can break this out. If you guys want to take a screenshot of this, if you want to like write this down, absolutely. But the thing is, and I want you to keep in mind, you could totally put this in the blender and just pick 3, in fact, just an example of a 3-day week posting schedule. You could use Monday as the training day, right? Monday could be your educational day. In fact, I know a lot of people who do this for Facebook groups, for example. They actually kind of put some themes to each of the days, and they do like a training day and get everybody going and stream. And then on Wednesday, they'll ask them questions. And then Friday, they'll share, the big wins of the group. But for Scott, just kind of giving an example for LinkedIn, he could do a video on Monday. He could do a poll on Wednesday. And then he could do kind of a fun post on Friday. Right. In fact, he does it all the time. He posts pictures of us, hanging out, going out, doing our thing. He posts pictures of us in the backyard, so on and so forth. Okay. So before we advance, so if you guys can, I love how Scott always asks, type a Y in the chat box. If you guys are with me, okay. Again, we're just showing you an idea of how you can take and break apart your week. Go ahead,
the one thing I'm also going to say is that some people like to choose one type of content and use that only type of content every day. So there are some people that choose the entertaining realm every single time they post. There are some people that just like to educate every single post. So just because there are 5 different types of content to create doesn't mean that you have to do all 5. So really lean into not only what feels good to you, but what's going to engage your audience the best way. I know for a fact that my audience on LinkedIn likes my educational and information-based content, whether it's a video, a poll, a post, or a newsletter edition. So I really keep it to that. I very rarely entertain on LinkedIn. I don't really show if even like shouting myself out, or if, Nancy and I hit a milestone or whatever it is, I very, very rarely do that. So again, you can pick one type of content and create it whatever days of the week that you want to create. And again, any questions that people have, that's going to be saved for the Q&A. So make sure, I'm going to type my email address in the chat one more time, and Nancy's going to continue, but pre-submit any questions that you have first and foremost to support@scottaaron.net. They will be put on a spreadsheet, and I will go through those first when we do the Q&A on Thursday at 1 p.m.
Yep. And so what I want you guys to keep in mind, right, we're really talking about, and the way that we can make this simple and streamlined is we want to really focus on the one main platform. And what you can do is by focusing on that platform, you can create the content and you can still share it to the other platforms. Okay. And keep in mind, right, there are people who are all over, who are on different platforms, so you can post the exact same stuff, right, and be omnipresent. So the next step, right, so determining a social media platform that you're going to focus on, that is step 1. Step 2 is determine what your posting schedule is going to be. What days are you actually going to be posting? So using the example of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, now determine the types of content you're going to post on those days, right? And you're always, I'm just going to give, obviously Scott said some people focus on different ones. You definitely want to make sure that you have some type of educational value-added content. Okay, so that's kind of like a non-negotiable.
Well,
but
no, that example, Nance, was like there are some people that, depending upon their business, they do more entertaining, more engaging.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yep.
So it really depends on the business.
Absolutely. And you could totally sway, but we really want to make sure that you're at least teaching or providing that value added content. Okay. So Monday, so that's an example. Maybe you could break down and do like a Monday educational post. So you could do a Wednesday engaging and connecting post, which could be a poll. And then Friday, you could do something entertaining. Okay. So if we're going to break down our content in that way, let's just use the example, right? After I broke down all of Scott's content and I picked one topic. So for week 1, I could use the topic of how to create a LinkedIn newsletter. Okay. Now, with that in mind, and really thinking through what I want my, posting schedule to be,
Well,
I can now take that through kind of a little sequence. So now I'm going to do, my posts on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I'm going to post the educational, the engaging, and then the entertaining. What that could look like is an educational post on Monday. So it could be Scott sharing, how to create a LinkedIn newsletter, right? You open it up and you say, all right, LinkedIn newsletters are awesome. It's a cool new feature, in the last XYZ. Here are 3 tips, blah, 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 right? And you could do like a nice little post about it. Could be a picture of him, like cheering or thumbs up, or it could be a picture of his LinkedIn newsletter, so you can see it visually. Wednesday, he could do a connect post, right? That could be a poll question. Have you created a LinkedIn newsletter before? Yes, no, not sure how. Of course, you want to give a little more context to the post, but you kind of share, the context behind it. Hey, LinkedIn has this awesome feature, LinkedIn newsletter. Are you a part of it? And then Friday, maybe you could share, right, an example of entertaining post. You could share a celebration, right? Oh my gosh, my newsletter hit 1,000 subscribers. Again, you could take a screenshot of it. You could celebrate it. Scott, another example, right? Scott shared the other day, he's on a little speaking tour right now. He's actually traveling across the entire country and he's speaking at different venues, right? That's a celebratory post. That's a feel good, right? That's a cool thing. And that's also a way to really kind of showcase and share with people what you got going on. So in your workbook, you guys have a little section where you can map out what kinds of posts you want to post on what days, right? These are just kind of theming out your days. So the other thing that you can do is decide, what days are you going to be posting on? Okay. So you've got 2 pages in your workbook where you can really get clear on that. And if you don't have the workbook, you don't have it downloaded, just write it down on paper, right? What days are you going to be posting? And what types of content would you like to really focus on posting? So another example of what this looks like, and I'm going to use a different content topic, right? I'm just going to use one of mine, right? 3 ways to stay consistent on social media. So if I were to break this out into 5 separate days, maybe I do a Monday motivation post, and I'm just saying this actually works better, the way of breaking this out for Facebook and Instagram, theming it this way. But you could do a Monday motivational post. You could share a post or a quote about consistency, right? Because that's kind of your theme for the week, right? We're using that topic to kind of theme out the rest of our posts. You could share a story about consistency. Like, oh my goodness, when I first started my business, it was so hard to stay consistent. Here's some things that I did and, what's worked for you. Like, again, could be just something to really motivate people and share a little bit about you. Tips Tuesday. So let's say there's our educational post day. You can actually share whatever the educational content is, whether it be a video, whether it be a single post. I give the example of just creating a simple post here, using Canva. And it's just 3 tips on how to, stay consistent on social media. Work It Wednesday, right? Is a promotional day. You can share behind the scenes. You can share a testimonial. Here's an example of a post I did featuring podcast episode. You could, share whatever you got going on, like whatever your focus is as far as, what you want your call to action or what you want people to do within your business. Do you want them to book a call? Do you have a free download, right? Just give an example, Scott could share his free download. Thursday, maybe I want to do a Connect Thursday. Again, following the topic of staying consistent on social media, you could post a poll or a question. And you can do polls, just so you guys know, you can do polls and questions in Instagram. You can do them in Facebook. You can do them in LinkedIn. But you could post, did you know that you are 80% more likely to post content more consistently when using a social media scheduling tool? Are you using one? Which one? Friday, Feel Good Friday, share a funny meme about entrepreneurs not being consistent. Share a funny story. Maybe when I first started my business, after an action-packed week, I'm ready to relax. Here are my go-to shows. Celebrate, share food, be you, be relatable, right? It's kind of like a fun day of just kind of posting whatever you'd like. Right? You can mix all those days up if you want. But again, just showing you the breakout of what you can do And what I did is I took that main topic, and that was just kind of my theme for the week, right? That was my driver for the week. And I broke out the content in different ways. Okay. That's all that was. And you don't have to do it. Remember, we talked about just doing 3 times a week, right? So here's, a weekly content flow of just posting on LinkedIn. I want you guys to drop a Y or a yes in the chat box if you guys are posting currently on LinkedIn. Okay. So Y or yes in the chat box if you guys are posting on LinkedIn. Okay. So how great is this? Right now, we can actually just choose, okay, let's do 3 posts a week. And maybe you're just going to, focus on doing a poll or a question on Monday. And then one other day, you're going to share something educational. And then maybe you're going to share something motivational on Friday. I always want you guys to remember that educational content, right, can be lots of different things. And we talked about your content buckets. It could be industry updates. It could be new and updated things. It could be so many different things. Okay. And this can change over time. But again, it's all about providing that value. Now, in your workbook as well, you're going to be able to write down, okay, the platform you're going to post on, how you want to theme it out, how many days a week, so on and so forth. So again, just a little reminder there that you guys have that. You can kind of map that out. Okay. Now, once we have a good idea of all of that, we now get into actually creating the content. Okay. And the way that I want you to think about this, okay, and I'm just kind of break it down. I've only got a few more slides to go through here, is we're going to take that main topic, right, that you guys were going to post about. You're going to create that educational piece of content, right, which is going to be the copy, right, what you're going to write with it. You're going to break that down throughout your week, right, and create different pieces of content that's kind of themed around it. And then you're going to schedule it. Right? That's the goal. So take your content topic. So again, using Scott's example, how to create a LinkedIn newsletter. You're going to write out the post. Okay. So I didn't even write out the post. I just put Lorem Ipsum. But you get the picture, right? We want to write out the post of whatever that looks like. Here are 3 tips how to create a LinkedIn newsletter. You're going to create the graphic. Okay. I want you guys to write Canva in the chat if you guys actually use Canva. If you use Canva to create posts, right? I use and love Canva. And I'm absolutely, I'm going to show you guys a couple tips tomorrow, how I use Canva and how I also use our social media scheduling tool as well. But you can create graphics now in a matter of seconds, right? So this whole process itself, probably the most time that you're going to spend is making sure that you're breaking apart and providing value here. Now, don't forget, right, guys, we do have ChatGPT, we do have AI, we do have little shortcuts that we can take to help us provide the framework and then put what we are, right? We're the meat in the middle, the AI is the sandwich, the framework, and then we can add our own, content in the middle. Now, remember that when you create your content, when you do this educational type of content, you guys get extra bonus points always if that content can help your audience do something, right? Are there steps? Is it actionable? Does it solve their problem? Can they learn something? Can they provide, can you provide evidence and facts, right? Again, that's providing more value. Can it make them feel something by sharing your voice, your perspective, your opinions? Can it trigger emotion? Then what you do after that is writing out the other posts for the week. So if Scott's going to focus on how to create a LinkedIn newsletter, again, I gave you examples already, but, let's say he wants to do a quote. Maybe he just pulls one quote from that educational piece of content. Maybe it's one quote, which is writing a LinkedIn newsletter can be incredibly impactful for your business. It can increase engagement by 20%. That could be the quote, right, that you share. And they can say, guys, this is such an amazing thing, feature of LinkedIn, blah, 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 and share that. He could do a feel good. Again, I gave the example of, maybe sharing his wins. I just looked at my newsletter. I think I have over 2,500 subscribers. I had no idea. I hadn't even checked it lately. How cool, right? Let's celebrate it. Let's share it. A question or a poll. And then the fourth step is choose and create your graphics, right? So all you're doing is creating that main educational, you're breaking it down into little chunkies, and you're going to create the graphics for it. Now, you will always hear me, right? I don't like stock photos. Okay. And again, we are really honing in. I mean, of course, I'm going to show you lots of ways that you can do graphics and all kinds of stuff tomorrow. But my main tip to you guys, when you can use personal photos, when you can use real, that's always going to trump everything else. Okay. When you do, certain educational posts, you can absolutely, right? You can do infographics, you can do 1, 2, 3, you can share kind of some images there. Awesome. That's great. But if you guys are able to really share real pictures, or even if it's like you handwriting, the tips, like 1, 2, 3, guys, this is so cool. It's going to be more impactful. It's going to get more engagement every day of the week. Okay. It just does. So just please keep in mind that you don't have to have all these fancy, crazy graphics. You could literally just be taking a picture of, a plant in your office and be talking about it if that's the content topic you're talking about, right? And you can be sharing something about it. Okay. So I don't want you to overcomplicate things. I have little words that I use, but yeah. So literally you can share anything. Okay. But choose the create the graphics. Okay, so that brings us, right? We're coming right in, under the 10-minute mark. That brings me to our homework. Okay, originally, right, I was going to say, oh, just create one day of homework or one day of content. But I want you to actually map out your week worth of content. Okay, and you get extra special bonus points if you do your content topics for the whole month, right? I want you guys really planning out your content for the whole month of August. And if we're using one topic each week, right, that should take you guys, a matter of minutes, right, just to pick a topic that you're going to use as your leader for each week. And then, right, we determined how many days a week we're going to post. And if you want to choose kind of a type or a theme, you can absolutely do that. So I want you guys mapping out 1 week's worth of content. What days are you posting and what are you going to post? Okay. And you can do it as simple when you share it in the homework. You guys can just type out, Monday in parentheses, whatever type of post. So maybe it's an educational, and then whatever the topic is, and if you want to put little judge in there for the content, Wednesday, Friday, whatever it be. Okay. So does everyone understand what the homework is going to be? You can type a Y or a yes in the chat box, and then we're going to announce the winners of our homework prize from yesterday in just a moment. All right, awesome. Scott, anything else you want to add before we share?
Yeah, just again, as we always talk about, don't overthink this process. And all you have to do is you'll see the thread pinned to the top of the Facebook group. It'll just say, type below, I've mapped out my week's worth of content. So you don't have to post, what you're talking about. We just want you to do this exercise externally. And then once it's done, you go into the homework thread and say, I mapped out my content for the next week. So if everybody is clear on that, drop a Y or a yes in the chat. Now, before we wind down, Nance, why don't you give them a little bit of a sneak peek preview to what day number 3 entails? Because again, we went over obviously everything yesterday, today, tomorrow is big, and then obviously Thursday we're going to be doing the Q&A.
Yep. So tomorrow we're really going to dig into one of the most important steps with staying consistent. And that's actually walking you guys through, right? We're going to walk you through this process again. And we're going to show you that last step, which is how you can actually schedule and post that content so that you can stay consistent, right? Because we want you guys to have a workflow that you guys can walk away with and go, okay, great. Here's exactly what I'm going to do. I can spend a little time each month, mapping out all the weeks of my content. I can create it all. And then boom, I can go ahead and have a nice little workflow of how I can get it scheduled. What we're also going to do is share with you, right? So Scott and I are all about making things simple. Okay. In fact, as we grow and build our businesses, as we do everything that we do, right? We run 3 businesses together. Everything, right? The big umbrella is how can we help people run their business more simply, efficiently, and really create and grow a business they love and enjoy. Right. So one thing that we're going to really dig into and we're going to kind of show you guys is, our posting platform, which I know there's actually some of our members of our posting platform, which is BYB Social. They're already in here and they're using it consistently, in their business. But we're going to show you how you can use it as well. And the cool thing is, right, of course, we talk about our posting platform, which is a social media scheduler, which means you can take your content and reschedule it. There's tons out there. And we totally support all, right? If you guys are using one and you're loving it, awesome. We want to hear about it. And we are so glad that you were using one that you absolutely love. But what we're going to do is share, again, a little bit more of a solution and a way that you stay consistent. And the other thing, right, I mentioned before is how can we make sure that we are showing up consistently? How can we make sure that you guys do not run out of content ideas, right? That's always my mission, right? We do a co-working session actually with our members each month. And I make sure no one leaves that call without knowing, right, what type of content posts, they can do. In fact, I love it because it really helps me block out some time to make sure that I spend time doing this. Okay. So we will be talking about that tomorrow, and a little sneak peek, even for our current members and our, maybe future members. We will be opening the doors this week and they'll only be open until Sunday. So again, stay tuned, guys. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So I'm going to share the homework winners for day one. Again, everyone who submitted did a fantastic job. We randomly selected the first winner is, I apologize if I don't say this correctly, but Lisa M. Ruffsholm. So Lisa M. Ruffsholm, and then Melissa Grosboll. Okay, so the two homework winners are Lisa M. Ruffsholm and Melissa Grosboll. So if you guys are a winner, or maybe you're catching this on the replay that you won, please send an email to support@thetimetogrow.com. Again, that's support@thetimetogrow.com, acknowledging, and then we will email you and send you your prize.
And just remember, tomorrow is going to be very eye-opening. The fact is that there's certain tools that we all need to have in our business. And what we're going to be showing you tomorrow is exactly how Nancy and I go about working smarter and not harder, where you don't have to be on social media every single day creating content. And it's going to open up a lot of people's eyes. So remember, there's going to be a homework thread pinned to the top of the Facebook group. Again, all you have to do is type in the chat or type in the comments of that homework thread. I mapped out my week's worth of content, and obviously we're going to be getting back into it tomorrow for day 3. Bonus Q&A on day number 4, which is Thursday at 1 p.m. EDT. Replays are available until this Sunday at 9 p.m. EDT. Again, Nancy, anything else to wrap up? Are you ready to close out?
No, I think we're great. Actually, I'm proud of myself because I made like 1 million slides and I was like, there's no way I'm going to get through it. So
I'm actually proud of her too, because there were literally 75 slides. And I said in my head before we jumped on today, I'm like, how is she going to go through all these slides? But you know what? She did it. You guys weren't overwhelmed and you are ready to streamline this process. So everyone, thank you for joining day number 2. Love and gratitude. And we'll see everybody tomorrow, same time, same place.